We live in a world where a lot of developers are still scared to take risks in VR. It seems like at every turn we're encumbered by slow movement speeds, forced comfort settings, quick turning, and teleportation, all of which are great for those who need it. But for the rest of us, it takes a lot of the thrills out of our virtual experiences. So when a game like Sairento VR comes along, it's time to sit up and pay attention, because this one lets you push yourself as far as you're willing to go. Explaining exactly what you're doing in Sairento, at least from a narrative perspective, feels like an exercise in futility. Trust me, play through the campaign, and you'll quickly see that developer Mixed Realms shoehorned a lot of voiceovers into the lobby and arenas in an attempt to give Sairento some kind of overarching story, some glue to keep the playground from falling apart. But don't worry, it's not the story you're here for, it's the playgrounds themselves. Each area gives you plenty of room and, more importantly, verticality to play with. Chaining together wall runs, quadruple jumps, backflips, and sliding across the environments with bullet time at your service, all while pulling off headshots and swapping out weapons in midair, is a sentence I never thought I'd get to say in a VR game review. But here it is. Sure, you could just run into a level and shoot a bunch of bad guys from a distance, but that would be boring, like Devil May Cry 2, and you wouldn't get all the style points for being totally badass, like Devil May Cry 3. But between levels is when things get really interesting. Here is where you can equip an assortment of weapons, of machine guns, shurikens, blades, bows and arrows, or mix and match for some really diverse gameplay variety. On top of that, each weapon has 4 relic slots that'll boost your stats, and the number of relics you can find, craft, and equip in Sairento will have you wondering if you somehow stumbled into a game of Diablo on accident. But until you discovered some of the more legendary relics, the absolute best part of the upgrade screen is the skills tab. You'll start off as a lowly ninja, capable of only the absolute minimum of awesome moves. But as you progress, you'll soon be able to add abilities, everything from extra jumps in midair to longer wall runs, and even ground slams for extra attack options. And when you combine all of this together, Sairento really starts to feel endlessly customizable. Customizable barely begins to describe the options Mixed Realms provides for comfort and movement. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen so many options in one game before, VR or otherwise. So there should be something for everyone. But as you can probably tell already, Sairento isn't without some issues. Despite an obvious attempt to infuse color and style into each level, the graphics are really basic, reminiscent of PS2 era games not only in geometry and resolution, but also texture quality. And the levels themselves are extremely short, usually just a few minutes at best. There's an incredible 2-player co-op option, but none of the PvP or PvE modes from the PC version. And for almost $40, we were obviously hoping for a bit more polish. But honestly, when you're in the midst of an amazing action sequence, hanging upside down and jumping off walls, none of these things are terribly important, and you'll be having way too much fun to care. Sairento is an amazing breath of fresh air. The longer you play, the more you unlock, and the more natural the controls start to become, until you've reached a point where it feels practically like a different game. Replaying levels, upgrading weapons, and gradually advancing until you can take down every mission on the hardest difficulty will take up hours of your life. It's missing a few essentials that would classify it as a AAA game, but what's here is outstanding.